Hello, thanks for joining me today. Today we're going to discuss workflows in Zoho Marketing Automation. Now you can see here I've kind of put together these various components of Zoho Marketing Automation, and we are going to walk through the various parts of working with data in CRM, pushing that over to Zoho Marketing Automation, and then taking some actions based on some criteria, and these are the actions that we can take, right? And so we're going to walk through this today. One of the differences between Zoho campaigns and Zoho marketing automations is this actual, is this kind of automation here. And so I'm going to walk through this and help you visualize what we're actually doing in the Zoho marketing automation software once we go there. So let's start from the very beginning here. So here we have contacts and leads in our Zoho CRM. Now there's numerous videos available for how to synchronize Zoho CRM with Zoho Marketing Automation, so I'm not going to get into that much here, but know that you can set up a sync from Zoho CRM to Zoho Marketing Automation. And a lot of people, they say, hey, I have all these leads and contacts in Zoho CRM, but where can I put them in marketing automation? Do I have to put them here? Do I need to split them up? And so one of the things that I suggest is when you are in marketing automation is to go ahead and create a list and just call it all leads or all contacts. And that way you can synchronize all leads into Zoho Marketing Automation. They come in here to this all leads list, and then we use workflows to do automations with this leads list, and we're going to jump into further depth there in a few minutes. So like I said, we're going to create this list, we're going to create workflows, we're going to create criteria for those workflows, then we're going to actually perform actions. And so some of the actions that you could do, right, once you have the leads coming from Zoho CRM, they're coming into Zoho Marketing Hub, they're in one of your lists, you create a workflow for that specific list, and then you can do these things. So I want to start right here, push data to CRM. Well, we did just get data from CRM in this example. As you build more and more of these data flows, you're going to want to push data back to CRM. And so we can do that. Here right beside this, I put almost the same thing, push data to CRM, specifically Command Center. So those of you may be familiar with Zoho Blueprints, there's something called Zoho Command Center where you can really kind of map out these processes and these journeys of leads and contacts in your CRM. So this could be beneficial of, after a nurturing sequence is completed, push something over to, CRM, which then kind of triggers the command center to start its, journey, right? The other thing, once we have a criteria, another action would be, put them into another list. So just because we have them here in the all leads list, again, this is, I think, a great way to get started. And in the newer version, the version 2 that Zoho is coming out with, you're not going to have to create this all leads list. There's going to have a general bucket there for you already, but in this first version, we do not have that. So we can create different lists, right? We can create email journeys. Those are basically sequence automations, and you can see how this relates, because when you create a journey, you have to trigger a journey, right? And here are a few things that that are triggers for the entry, right? When you add someone to a list, that can trigger a journey. When you update a field, which is right here, that can trigger a journey. When you assign it tags, that can trigger a journey. When you remove tags, that can trigger a journey entry. Or if the lead score gets to a certain point, that can trigger an entry. And you'll see here we have tags, add and remove, add score. Again, these are actions. So when this criteria is met, this action is going to be taken. Add or remove tags, add score, and we'll walk through these in greater detail here in a bit. Update product audiences, field updates, send them an email, or send to a webhook. Right? So once we evaluate, once a criteria is met, the action we're going to take is one of these actions. And for this journeys, based on what we do in these actions, can trigger a journey to start. Now, while there are quite a few more entry journeys for journeys in marketing automation, these are the just 5 of them here that are related to the direct actions that we can take here in the workflow. Now, this last one here, webhooks. I think a lot of people are familiar with Zapier. And they're familiar with Zoho Flow, but they're not familiar with using webhooks in the marketing automation platform, which we can do, right? So, for example, if someone comes into our CRM, they get pushed over to marketing automation, they get put into our all leads list, the workflow runs, the criteria is met. For the action, we're going to choose webhooks. And so if we push a webhook to either Zoho Flow or Zapier, we can then do things like create accounts in Shopify, create user accounts in WordPress. Maybe you have some kind of membership plugin that you want to create, a new user there, right? And third-party systems, you can push data there. And so this is kind of what we're going to be covering within the next short while. So let's go ahead and get started here. We're going to start with this part. So if we're here in marketing automation, we're going to come to leads, and we're going to come down to manage lists. Now I'm just going to go ahead and here and create a new list. We're going to call it all leads from ZCRM, right? We're going to say they cannot sign up. For the description, we'll give it the same description there. So now we have our list, and I'll just say I'll add them later, right? And so if we go back to manage lists, all leads from CRM, this is the list we just created. It is blank, but in theory, when we set up the synchronization job to push all leads to this all leads list, they will start coming in here, right? And so this is kind of like the hub, right? So if you do use this approach, which is to put all your leads in CRM, and say you have 10 other lists, well, that's great, but you can use workflows to populate those other 10 lists. Right? You always wonder, okay, now that I have CRM data into my marketing automation, how can I put all these people into new lists? And if you have a kind of a master list here, this all leads list, you can use workflows to put those people into lists. Sorry. So here we are. We have data in CRM. We pre-configured our synchronization in Zoho Marketing Hub. We just created our all leads list, right? So in theory, all of our leads will come here. And you can also create another one here called all contacts, right? If you use leads and contacts, leads is just used by marketing automation to, I guess just by the default, they use the term leads, but you can have all leads and another bucket for all contacts. So here, workflow, and we're going to come up here and create this little plus sign, and we're going to create a new workflow. We're going to choose instant, and so let's back up here. You can see before I back up, This is the workflow where you give it its name, meets the criteria, right? So you select a field that, if you do not see your field here that's from CRM that you're looking for, it's because you did not include it in the synchronization job. So you need to add that to the mapping. But you will you basically, country is, right, United States, and state is Florida, right? That's a condition. And so when we say we need to create the criteria, this is what I'm referring to, creating the right criteria. So when we come here, we have our law leads list. We are currently creating our workflow, the criteria I just showed you, and now let me show you these actions. So once this criteria is met, these actions down here are going to run. And so let's briefly look at these. You can see there's quite a few here. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11 of these out of the box. And so this is where you can actually add multiple actions, right? See this then? And so we can say, add someone to a lead, to add a lead to a list, but also give them a tag, and we'll talk about that in a moment. So going back here to our flow chart, that we can establish criteria, that we have these actions down here. So let's kind of go through these one by one. So this one, push data to CRM, right? Again, in this example where we're taking CRM contacts and leads and we're pushing them into a kind of a list or a bucket that catches everything, where it probably won't be immediately sending data back to CRM, but you can see that you can do that here, push data to CRM, right? We're going to select our demo account here, configure, and it's going to say, okay, well, what module do you want to send back? Well, we're working with the lead, so let's select that. Data to be pushed. You can update existing leads only, because those are the people already in our system that came from CRM, but obviously you can change that. And these are kind of the default fields. We do need an email and a last name, so those need to be mapped, but here's where you can specify fields to change, right? And so like if we have this field called persona, and we'd map that here to personas. So our marketing automation fields are pushed to our CRM fields, right? So there's numerous value in this, again, especially if you the further we get down the rabbit hole in connecting workflows and having a bunch of contacts moving places and send them information, that can be of great value. And to add another action, we select this add another action, and boom, you can see this drop down comes up, and now we have all these again at our fingertips, so you can create a string of actions to be taken. So let's remove this action here. Okay, so let's do add product audience field levels. Now this is one underutilized capability in marketing automation, is their product functions. And so if we come here and we see leads, you can see this products here. They actually have a whole tab for it. There is a lot to be desired from other marketing automation platforms when it comes to this product specifically, but again, going back to our workflow action, we can manage product levels. And so in some of my previous videos, we spoke about buyer personas and buyer journeys. And so We can make it so that when things happen, once the data changes, then we can move them to different buyer stages. So here we have the awareness stage. The second stage is a consideration, and the third is a decision, right? And it's not until I show you, kind of all of these, as well as show you a little bit about automations, that it will make sense for you to start using these various actions. So again, we can adjust the product lead level. So you could say if somebody is new, if somebody fills out a form in your organization, you could immediately put them in the awareness stage, right? But as soon as they bought something from your business, you could, or sorry, if they filled out something for a white paper, right? Filled out another form, right? You could put them into the engagement form and get the consideration stage here. If they have called your sales department, or your sales department has talked with them, we could push that data over here and put these people into the decision stage. And again, these are all custom lead levels. Then we have our customer levels. So I'll let you play around with this, but I did want to show you what that workflow action actually was for. Add audience to product. And so the same thing, this is the product levels that we just discussed, but we can also have multiple products, right? So as a consultant, Zoho consultant, I'm selling these 3 services, right? Zoho Desk, data analytics, and Flow and data integration. So if one of our products is Zoho Desk implementation, this is the page for Zoho Desk implementation product. And I have what? Doesn't this look familiar? Create more workflows. It should, because that's what we're talking about. So there's an actual workflow on this specific product, right? And so we can take an action to add people to different products here. Remove leads from a list. And this is kind of obvious. It's removing leads from a list. So we could do something like, if we are putting on a webinar and we have a field in CRM that has the different webinar names, we could say, if this particular field called webinar name equals whatever the name of your webinar is, then remove them from the invite list, right? So if we created one list to send the invites to this webinar to, right? And as soon as they register for the webinar, we update that webinar field in CRM, and then it then gets synchronized over here to marketing automation, and then they get removed from the webinar invite list. That way, you can just keep sending invites to the list, and the people that have already gotten or have already registered for your webinar will not receive another one, right? And then there's just all kinds of reasons how we could use remove leads from list, right? So let's go back to here to conceptualize things, right? I showed you we're creating workflows, we're creating criteria and actions. I showed you how to push data to CRM. I showed you can add and remove to lists, right? So we're still working on that component there. And we're going to just remove this one. Add leads to a list. You can see we get a drop down of all of our lists here. And we can actually also just create a new list, right? Create a new mailing list. And so if I create activate now, right, then this JG demo list 1 is going to be created. And so based on the criteria, this demo criteria we have, which is if the CRM data, if the country is United States and this person lives in Florida, it's going to immediately add them to this list. So let's close out of that one. Send email. Now this is could be a very a useful one, a useful workflow action. You know, if you have external data or systems feeding into CRM, when that record is updated in CRM and that data changes, that data is going to get pushed over here to marketing automation, and you can have this workflow basically send them an email, right? Now you can do the same thing in CRM. You know, there's no a major issue there. You can send an email and through using CRM, but this again is just, you know, a way to send an email, right? And so this could be beneficial if we're staggering. Remember how I showed you we can do multiple actions? So maybe we can, you know, send email. We could do, you know, add someone to a list, then add a tag, and then send this email, right? So that's kind of 3 actions that we associated with this single workflow here. I'm going to close out of this one. Let's talk about tags. So tags, again, at the very bottom here, assign tags, and you can create tags, you know, just as you can use your existing ones. And tags can be used for various things throughout this marketing automation platform, including, you know, making them enter into other, you know, automations or other, you know, email journeys. So we're going to take out assign tags, and then there's remove tags, right? Maybe we want to assign a tag, and then that tag will insert someone into an email journey, and at the very end of that email journey, we put remove tags, right? So we could use this one. So let's close this down. And so this last one here, add webhook, right? Select a webhook, create a webhook. Now this should look familiar here. Give it a name, a webhook URL. Now again, this goes back to, you can either use Zapier, a third party, right? If we're here on webhooks, we can, you know, the data or the data that we know about the people. So if John Doe comes through here and we know 10 things about John Doe, when we want to take an action on that data, then that means we set up this workflow, and then for the action, it would be webhook. And so we can send to Zoho Flow, Zoho Zapier, some kind of external system. Again, just an example, you know, you can set up Shopify uses WordPress. So if we come over here to Zoho Flow, I'm not sure if you have Zoho 1, then you have this Zoho Flow. But you can see if we do click this, we click all, we can send data to external systems. But in order for this webhook to work with Zoho Flow, we can't select a specific app here, and so what we're going to do is we're going to do create flow. C, Control V, create. And so here's where we're going to select webhook, right? Configure, and this is our webhook here, right? Copy. So we've created the webhook. I've copied the the posting URL. So when you say webhook URL is this one. This is the Zoho Flow. So whenever data changes or whenever this criteria is met and we take an action of webhook, if we push to Zoho Flow, right, now this is the data that's going to come into Webhook, and you can see now we can say, there's QuickBooks, right? So maybe we want to create a customer in QuickBooks, right? Again, let's delete this one. So maybe we want to create a user in our WordPress website, right? Click that, delete, and there's just all kinds of things that we can do here. We can even push it into different CRM modules, right? So Zoho, let's see, Zoho Desk. We could make it so whenever something is done in Marketing Hub, right? Maybe we want to create a new ticket. Create ticket, right, in Zoho Desk. So we can drag that there, and I won't go through all the configurations, but you can see that here the workflow, criteria, action, webhook, and we connected it to Zoho Flow, and we have, I think Zoho Flow now can connect to more than 450 different external systems. And Zapier obviously has the most integration, is kind of the king of the webhook and kind of integration aspect there. So if you can't find an app that's readily available here in Zoho Flow, you could try using Zapier. But anyway, I just wanted to kind of show you that this is something that we can do, right? And for the webhook here, we created a webhook for Zoho Flow. But if you want to pass this to Zapier, then you would go into Zapier and create a Zap and say create new Zap, and it's going to be a catch webhook. And then you just map the payload over, and then you can send that data anywhere you want. So the next thing is I want to come over here to entry triggers, right? So with these journeys, these are pretty powerful. So if we come here under let's cancel out of our webhook. Again, you can just say campaign values. You can see how you can post all the field data from within Zoho Marketing Hub. You can just build out, right, and do another one. Campaigns field, just add all your data in there so when it sends the payload, it'll work. So let's do post there. So let's close this one. And sorry, so I was talking about entry triggers, right? And so let's go over here to the Zoho Journey Builder. And so here's our on list entry, right? So you can see if we have a workflow that adds someone to a list, then we could basically trigger this workflow that we can build out, right? We can do, maybe you can want to do a welcome series, or based on their products that they're interested in, you send them on a custom sequence here. So we have on list entry, right, which is one of our actions. Scroll down back through triggers. Field update, we didn't talk much about that one, but if we come back here to our automations, I believe there is update field. Sorry, maybe I should finish these up first. Update field, and this again, is simply updating a field. These are good for life cycle stages, or just kind of drop down fields that you want to change the values for. And then the other one here is adding the score. So we could say if all of this happenings, let's go ahead and add a score. And so back to this Zoho Marketing Automation, this journey builder. So I've showed you on list entry. We start this journey. Upon updating the field done by our workflow, we start this journey. Come down through here, right? Assigning tags. Oops, this is process, sorry. Back to trigger here. Trigger. Now obviously it doesn't make sense to have both of these triggers. I mean, you could, but I'm just showing you that we're going to add them in here. Tag assign, right? So once a tag is assigned, then start this journey. What else do we have here? So if we go back to trigger here, lead score updates, right? Select score. So if we are scoring different email campaigns and how people are interacting with them, their lead score is going to build, right? And so we can have this say once a lead score reaches 100 or 20, whatever it is, then start an email sequence. But so basically I just wanted to show you in the scheme of how workflow works in Zoho Marketing Automation, in terms of selecting an action. We have these entry triggers, and there's ways that we can send people set people on their marketing journey here, right? And so I think that almost covers everything I wanted to show you and how all of this relates. We'll build a few here in a moment. Let me just take a pause. All right, so let's go back to our managed lists. All leads from ZCRM. Workflow. Create new. Obviously time-based is an option. So create new. We're going to give this a name, right? Industry is insurance. So here we have a field in our CRM called industry is insurance. I want to add these people to a list, and I don't have a list created, so I'm going to create one. We're going to call this insurance industry. You see people cannot subscribe themselves to it. So in our example here, if someone comes from CRM and they are in the insurance engine that comes in CRM, it gets synchronized to Zoho Marketing Hub, Marketing Automation, then it gets synchronized to all leads. We're building out a workflow that says industry is insurance. So if industry is insurance, add them to our list called insurance industry. We'll just do activate now, right? And you can see this little green dot is green, and so we are live here. And we go to workflows, we can see this is one of our workflows. Now let's say if we wanted to identify nonprofits, right? We do another one. We come here, we choose add workflow instant. We're going to say nonprofit organizations. Here you can say email, right? Email ends with .org. Isn't that what the nonprofits use? We say do what? Now here I'm going to say assign a tag. You do not have one created, so I'm going to create a tag. Call this pick a color, save, and so when an email comes in through CRM and they have a .org, we're going to tag them with nonprofit. We are going to add leads to a list. We're going to create a new list. So we're going to add them to our new nonprofit list. We are also going to and that's all we want to do for this example. Add tags, nonprofit, add them to a list, nonprofit. Activate now. So sometimes if you create a new tag, you have to kind of add it back in there. Activate now. It's just not like that. Okay, there we go. So now let's go back. So this is the nonprofit one we created. So you can see we have two workflows running here. And again, I said that we could create email journeys here. So let's go ahead and create one of those. If we are here, since we know we're tagging it with nonprofit, then if we're creating a new journey, actually let's use one of these pre-built ones just so that it will help you grasp what we're doing here a little easier. We're going to say 10-day welcome series, and I'm going to delete this one. Yes. And here we could select our nonprofit list, delete, but I'm going to select tag assigned, nonprofit, done. So what is this going to do? This is basically saying what we just created here is when we have data in our CRM, it's going to get synchronized over to Zoho Marketing Automation into a generic list called all leads. We then have a workflow created that says if the email address is a .org, another criteria could be or industry equals nonprofit, then what action do we want to take? Well, the action we're going to take is add a tag to that person so that we could then put them into an email journey here. And so if we come back here, this is what we just built. And if we were to activate this, then you could see that upon getting this tag nonprofit, they would get these 3 emails. And going back to the marketing automations, if we do create journey, pre-built templates, again I would suggest you kind of look in here and see what's available out of the box. If you have zero experience with these marketing automation journeys, you can do some really cool stuff. And so basically what I've shown you today was how to use actions to use actions, one of these, which would then you would then trigger a specific journey and put them here, right? And so I hope this helps you conceptualize, what can be done with Zoho workflows. Again, maybe down the road we'll do some better real world examples of how things flow. But I just want to show you this so that you can get an overarching view of how everything relates. And so paste your questions or comments in the field below in the YouTube comments. If you have any questions, post them there. I'd be happy to answer them. And also, if you like this video, please subscribe. And you can check out our additional videos on YouTube. There's plenty of Zoho Marketing Automation videos. If you have any ideas of videos you want me to make, drop those in the comments, and I'll see what I can do. And check out our website at fbergcrm.com. We help small businesses with their Zoho One implementations, including their Zoho Marketing Automations. And so again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching.